Hey, welcome back to another ballistics gel test. Today we're going to be shooting, and I have to read the box, there's a lot on here, Winchester super suppressed target and suppressor 255 grain open tip range subsonic in the 350 Legend. And here's your box for that Winchester super suppressed 350 Legend load. Cool looking box. Flip it around. Here is your factory promo information. You can pause and read all that if you would like. I kind of like it when there's a lot of promo info because it allows me to test the ammo versus what the factory says it's going to do. And here we go. Down here you can see your velocity and energy information. It does give you a barrel length. Ballistics data generated from a 20-inch barrel. So I don't expect to see quite this velocity. We'll be shooting this out of a 16-inch barreled Ruger American Ranch. So let's go ahead and take a look at the ammo itself. Comes in your styrofoam holder. And there it is. For once, the brass actually looks halfway decent. Usually Winchester ammo, the brass is pretty dingy. This looks good. Got a big old hollow point right there. It'll be cool to see if this stuff expands at subsonic velocities. And my test rifle today is my Ruger American Ranch, chambered in 350 Legend, of course. It's got a 16-inch barrel up top. I've got a Vortex Crossfire 2 scope. And coming on back, I've got one of my 20-round magazine cuffs. You pop that open, you got a 20-round magazine close at hand right there. Really helps turn the Ruger American Ranch into the perfect truck gun, camp gun, anything you could need it for. Coming around to the other side, I've got my white-tailed deer design on this one. Check out my website, masonleather.com. I would absolutely love to make you one. I will link it in the description and in the pinned comment. We'll be taking 3 shots from 100 yards, firing into 10% ballistics gel that has been calibrated to meet the FBI's ballistics testing protocol. And while ballistics gel isn't an exact proxy for big game, it does provide a repeatable medium through which to test various bullets and ammo against each other. After the shots, we'll examine bullet expansion, weight retention, penetration, and velocity. My goal is to provide hunters like you and I with the most objective information possible to help us make the best choice for our particular hunting situation. The ballistics gel in this video has been sourced from Clear Ballistics. You can find a link in the description. So let's go ahead and shoot it. And we are down here at the blocks after shooting that Winchester super suppressed 255 grain open tip ammo out of the 350 Legend. And I am using once shot blocks here. I completely ran out of gel blocks and I wanted to get these subsonic loads tested. It doesn't affect the performance of the bullets unless you've absolutely shredded the blocks with a 30-06 or something. But here we go. We captured 2, and we've got one at 24 inches and one at about 26 inches. And it's a little hard to tell, but it looks like we got a little bit of tip deformation. I wouldn't necessarily call it expansion, but the tips did flatten out a bit, and you could say it expanded just a little bit. The third bullet zipped out the side of the second block somewhere, so we'll dig them out and take a look. And let's go ahead and take a look at the velocities for that Winchester 255 grain super suppressed open tip range ammo. That's a heck of a name for a box of ammo. All right, there we go. Our high was 1039, our low was 1003, and our average was 1023. And here are those Winchester super suppressed 255 grain open tip bullets from the 350 Legend as recovered from the gel, and one recovered from outside of the gel. Retained weight, we saw 253 grains, 254 grains, and 248 grains respectively, for an average of 252 grains retained weight. That's 99% weight retention. No surprise being that we saw almost zero expansion. And then on to expansion, we saw 0.6 inches, 0.35 inches, and 0.4 inches respectively, for an average of 0.45 inches. And keep in mind that middle bullet there, zero expansion whatsoever. And the other bullets, even though the first one got up to 0.6 inches, it's just kind of a shard sticking off to the side. It is not consistent expansion all the way around the perimeter of the bullet. These did pretty poorly, and that's sort of par for the course for subsonic bullets. They're just not going fast enough to open up. And on average, that works out to 1.3x expansion. And then on the velocity, our high velocity was 1039, our low was 1003 for an average of 1023 versus the factory build velocity of 1060, so pretty darn close to the factory build velocity. We only came in 37 feet per second slow on average, really close. And then on to penetration, we saw 24 inches and 26 inches for the 2 that were recovered from the gel itself, and I'm not going to count the other one that was recovered outside of the gel. So the average was 25 inches of penetration, which inches, right there in the ballpark of what you're looking for a hunting load, but I'd argue this isn't a hunting load. Alright y'all, time for my final thoughts on that Winchester Super Suppressed 255 grain open tip load out of the 350 Legend. Let's go ahead and hit the metrics for this thing. Weight retention, 99% weight retention, no surprise, it's subsonic, it doesn't break up. Expansion wise, we saw, little bits and pieces of expansion, not very uniform though, 1.3x expansion overall. And again, not very uniform. It's not like there was any sort of a mushroom. There was just sort of like chunks of copper off to the side. So pretty poor expansion. No surprise. That's how almost all subsonic loads wind up being. Velocity-wise, we are right there, very close to box spec. 37 feet per second slow on average. And hey, it's subsonic, so if it's going slower, whoop-de-doo, who cares? We were really close to the box spec, so that's always nice. And then penetration-wise, we got 24 inches and 26 inches out of the 2 bullets that we recovered in the block. Of course, there was that other bullet that I recovered outside of the block, but we're not counting that. Yeah, it's going to penetrate pretty deep because there's no expansion and it is pretty heavy. It only makes sense. On to kinetic energy for whatever that's worth with this particular kind of load. With a 255 grain bullet averaging 1,023 feet per second at the muzzle, we're looking at 593 foot-pounds of energy. That's up there with like a strong 45 ACP or something like that. And it is what it is. What are you going to use it for? Who knows? What would I use this particular load for? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm never going to buy another box of this stuff. But for those that want to know, there you go. And if you've used it for something, let me and everybody else know in the comments how you liked it. Hey, if you enjoy these videos, check out my website, masonleather.com, and get yourself some leather gear handmade by me just for you. I've been handcrafting leather gear for hunters for over a decade, and I would love to make you something. The link is in the video description. And check out my channel for more hunting ammo ballistics gel tests. I have some big news. Lots of you have emailed me or commented how much value you get out of my videos. And you've asked me, how can you be a part of this and help support the channel? Well, I got to work and now I have a way. I've created a Patreon account where you can join me in helping our fellow hunters. Click the link in this video's description and watch my Patreon welcome video, where I describe to you how your help will impact this channel and our community of hunters as a whole. And when you join me on Patreon, you'll get a lot more than I can give you here on YouTube. You'll have to go watch that welcome video linked in the description to find out the details. I'll see you there.